Hi team, we run, Coach Alexa here. After last week's video about the very wet and unpredictable autumn weather that we're having, I got a question back about running shoes and waterproof running shoes. And can I recommend any pairs that are actually waterproof? And I'm afraid the short answer to that is no. And the primary reason for that is because all running shoes have a massive great hole in the top of them that lets the water in, but it also lets our foot and ankle in. So you are always, particularly if you stay out longer on a run or it's particularly heavy rain or deep puddles, you are, I'm afraid, going to get wet feet. So things like Gore-Tex running shoes will keep the damp out for longer. So I tend to wear a pair of Gore-Tex running shoes if it's raining it lightly, or if you're running on a trail where there's maybe a little bit of mud, so the mud doesn't come in quite as easily, or quite good onto the grassy fields, recreation grounds and parks and things. If you've got dew on the grass, just keeping that out. But if it is heaving it down with rain like it has been with me recently, and there are massive puddles, the water will get in. So yeah, it's just how quickly it gets in. Often if it's a really rainy day, I'll just put on a normal pair of running shoes, knowing that actually when you get those real sort of shoe completely filled with water in a puddle moments, the water actually gets out quicker when you're wearing normal running shoes and not waterproof ones. So something to think about. Couple of other things that you can play with, particularly if you're running on trails. The first one is Gators. So these are little pieces of fabric, mostly for runners. You can get walking gaiters, which are massive waterproof things that come right up to your knees, but they're effectively things that sort of attach over the top of your shoe, say from the laces and around the bit of the shoe where your foot and ankle goes in. So it creates a little bit of a seal around there, and then is kind of maybe elasticated around your ankle. Again, this will stop the worst of the water getting in. If you get a massive sort of puddle splash, you're not going to get quite as much water coming into you. Generally, they're not completely waterproof, they're just sort of fabric. What it will do when you're on the trails is minimise the amount of mud, grit, stones, leaves, detritus that also comes into your shoe with the water, which can actually be quite useful. When I'm out on the trails and I'm warm and up to temperature, I don't particularly mind my feet being wet, but having stones and grit and stuff in your shoe is not great, and you don't want to keep stopping to take them out. So gaiters can be really useful for that. If you're out hiking and have full waterproof gaiters on a decent pair of walking boots, then you can luxuriate in properly dry feet for extended periods of time. But boots don't allow us the ankle range of motion that we need for running. The other thing to think about, which I've been asked about a couple of times over the last couple of years, is waterproof socks. So again, this is something that I might consider wearing if I'm coaching, so I'm standing in the rain watching other people run. I tend to wear running shoes because, again, I can't demo properly if I've got waterproof boots on, so my feet will get wet, but I'll wear waterproof socks inside so my feet actually stay dry. Running in them, however, is a bit of an interesting one. So because they are waterproof, they're not at all breathable. So you tend to get a bit boil in the bag because the sweat that your feet are producing doesn't go anywhere. So your feet still will get wet. It won't be rain, but it'll be your own sweat. Pros and cons. So again, on a particular really cold day, if we do actually have any cold weather this winter, unlike last winter, or if you're running in places with really cold climate, then waterproof socks may well be the trick. I'd say in the UK generally it's a bit too mild, and I just end up getting unpleasantly hot and sweaty feet. But again, hiking, or if I'm standing around coaching, or if you're spectating on or marshalling at a park run, for example, then waterproof socks are a pretty awesome investment. Hope that makes sense. Happy running.